Two reforms that we need assistance from the legislature on, and I'm hopeful, very hopeful, that we're going to get that help. Now, you know, the legislature is controlled by the Democratic Party, and I happen to be a Republican. But this is not a partisan issue. And if you need any further evidence of that, hope some of you yesterday watched the NBC programs that they're entitling Education Nation that started on Sunday, continued through the last couple of days. On the Today Show yesterday morning at 8 o'clock, it began with a conversation with President Obama in the White House. Now listen, the President and I, there's certain things we don't agree on. I think that's pretty clear. But we agree on this issue. We agree on this issue. As I was sitting listening to the President yesterday, I found myself nodding my head 95% of the time, because he's right about this issue. And unlike any other president we've had before, he has shown the guts to stand up and to say certain things out loud that need to be said out loud. And so I hope that Democrats in New Jersey who control the legislature approach this task with the same kind of nonpartisan feeling. Because this isn't bipartisan even, this is nonpartisan. It doesn't matter which primary you vote in. It doesn't matter whether you have an R or a D next to your name. These things are common sense. So one bill that we will be putting forward to the legislature, which I hope they take very swift action on, is to eliminate and prohibit in New Jersey any contractual provisions that block improvements in teacher quality. What do I mean? What I mean is any provisions in these agreements that allow for any type of compensation based on anything but merit should be gone. In other words, if you have a salary guide or a compensation policy that rewards seniority, that you get paid just because you're there another year and you get paid more and more and more every year you're there, we should pass a law in New Jersey that prohibits seniority being a basis for compensation alone. We should prohibit the use of graduate degree attainment as a basis for salary increase unless that graduate degree attainment is connected to an area like math or science where it can demonstrably improve teacher performance. Otherwise, just getting a master's degree or a master's plus whatever should not be a way for you to boost your salary even higher if you are not showing performance in the classroom. Pay should be paid for performance. And this bill will also grant teachers the ability to have their schools and their school districts have the flexibility to reward excellence in the classroom, to attract high-quality teachers to low-performing schools, to attract high-quality teachers to hard-to-fill positions, and to allow merit pay to be given not to a school. I mean, here's one of the things that drove me crazy about this race to the top stuff. It was suggested to me that it would be acceptable that if you had a great teacher and they merited merit pay in a school because of their great performance in their 4th grade classroom, let's say in a K-6 school, the merit pay would go to the principal at the K-6 school. And that principal would determine how to distribute the money to all the teachers in the K-6 school. So as not to suggest any type of rivalry between teachers in a school. In what other profession in America, in our capitalist system, do we say competition is bad? And when someone competes and achieves, don't pay them, pay everybody. Because I'm sure that maybe a conversation in the lunchroom one day, a pat on the back in the hall, a little word of encouragement in the gymnasium contributed to that teacher's fabulous performance. So as a result, everybody should share in the success of that teacher. You shake your heads and giggle. This was a proposal wanted to put in our Race to the Top application. The only race to the top that resulted in was my top blowing off at the stupidity of that suggestion. Merit pay should go to the people who earn it. And I should be able, through the educational establishment in New Jersey, through measures of performance by students and teachers and principals, to reward greatness. That is the very underpinning of our American system. Mark Zuckerberg is worth, who knows, $7, $8, $9 billion at 26. At 26 years old, because he developed a computer system that has allowed 500 million people around the world to communicate to each other. And everybody wants to use it. He is rich because he created greatness. No one said, hey, there were a bunch of people who tried to do that and failed. Why don't we give them some of that money too? I don't think Mr. Zuckerberg would be in favor of that. And no teacher should be in favor of someone else being rewarded for their achievement and their greatness other than the children in that classroom who benefit from their greatness and their achievement. So that's reform number one that we need help from the legislature on. Reform number two regards tenure. Now, tenure is a concept that was supposed to protect academic freedom. The concept, which began in the higher education system, was professors, teachers in the college systems are supposed to be folks who can be free thinkers and expressors of thought and debaters of thought, some that are popular and some that are unpopular. And tenure was established to say, listen, those folks who debate, discuss, advocate unpopular things should not lose their job because they are an advocate of unpopular thoughts in an educational community where all thoughts should be able to be expressed so we can learn from them and make our own judgments. I think that's a very solid concept. And I think most Americans would agree with that. That is not what tenure has become when it was expanded into the system that we have now in the K-12 system. Tenure has become a job guarantee. A job guarantee regardless of performance. A job guarantee regardless of success. A job guarantee that even when you are an acknowledged failure, it has become so cumbersome, so expensive, the union has become so obstructive of any attempt to remove teachers from positions once they're granted tenure, that it has become the sclerosis that coats the veins of our school system. So, I don't oppose tenure. Not in the way it was traditionally put forward. But I oppose the sclerotic effect that tenure has had on our educational system in the way it's done now. So we would propose some very simple concepts in this legislation. That every child has the right to an effective teacher. And that tenure should be granted and taken away based on those effectiveness evaluations that we talked about before, as determined by that task force. That we should link student achievement to teacher effectiveness, and that tenure should be granted and maintained for those who show that they know how to teach, and for those who clearly demonstrate they don't know how to teach, tenure should not be granted. If it's granted, it should be taken away, and they should be shown the door, because let me say this. Say you're the parent who walks into a school for back to school night. I went to back to school night a couple of weeks ago. My kids are in 3 different schools. They all scheduled their back to school night for the same day. So we hopped, Mary Pat and I, from school to school to get to all their back to school nights. What happened if we walked into back to school night, let's say in my second grade, our youngest daughter, Bridget's class, and the principal stood up in the front of the room and said, you know, the teacher this year, she's not very good, but she's got tenure, and we've tried to work with her. We can't really improve her, but we can't fire her. Welcome to her class. We're going to try this year to see if we can do a little bit better. So give us another year to work on it, and we'll see what we can do. Thank you, and have a good evening. Your heart would break, because that's my daughter's only year in second grade. And the things that she's supposed to learn in second grade is the next brick in the foundation of her school life. And if that brick doesn't get put in, that foundation isn't strong. And so she'll fall behind in third grade, and in fourth grade, and in fifth grade. We can't afford any longer to give someone a year off, because that year off is being given to our children. And they'll never recover. They'll never recover from that. And that's what the current tenure system foists upon children all over the state of New Jersey. So I say this, I would love to have teachers spend their entire career teaching. Good teachers, effective teachers, super teachers, master teachers, and we'll pay them to make it worth their while. But that money isn't going to come from new money, from the $25 billion we spend now. That money's going to come from not paying the ineffective teachers any longer. That money's going to come from making sure that we get fair contracts with the teachers' unions. We're going to make sure that everybody joins in that shared sacrifice, and that everybody then joins in the shared achievement of higher student learning. And believe me, it'll make New Jersey a better place. Now, when we try to make these changes to tenure, and we try to make these changes to compensation of teachers, get ready. Get ready, because here it comes. Here it comes. You're going to hear it all. I hate teachers. I hate public education. I don't understand. This is much more complex than I'm led to believe. Teachers just need the tools to be effectively evaluated and managed appropriately so that they can achieve their very best someday in some system that we have yet to identify and never will. Because if we did, it might lead to the firing of lousy teachers and bad principals who hurt our children and their futures. Listen, I feel like the luckiest guy in the world to have gotten this job. I feel incredibly blessed to be able to come here in the state where I was born and raised, where I dragged my poor wife from Pennsylvania kicking and screaming nearly 25 years ago from Pennsylvania. She said, well, we're going to live in New Jersey? Yes, we're living in New Jersey. I feel incredibly blessed to have this job and have this opportunity. And I do not care, not one bit, about getting reelected. Now, I'm not saying I don't want to get reelected. Let's make that clear. But I'm not going to govern in the way that this state has been governed for decades before.